My dear heart, if you are listening to me today, I know you have been through the fire. Not the gentle warmth that comforts on a cold night, but the kind of fire that burns, blinds, and breaks. You have loved someone who did not know how to love. You have poured light into a cup with no bottom, and you have watched your kindness fall through the cracks of a soul that could not hold it. Yes, child, I know that kind of hurt. The hurt that makes you question your worth. The hurt that makes you whisper, "Was I not enough?" My dear heart, if only you knew how precious your tears are to the divine, you would never again call them wasted. God has never allowed a single drop to fall without purpose. Every ache, every sleepless night, every whisper of "Why me, Lord?" has been gathered in the palm of his mighty hand. For our Creator is not careless. He is the master weaver, threading your pain into the tapestry of your becoming. You see, pain is not punishment, it is preparation. It is not a sign that you have been forgotten. It is the sign that you are being formed. There are places within the soul that only sorrow can reach. There are truths about love, dignity, and faith that only the bruised heart can understand. God uses pain as his classroom, and child, you have been enrolled in the most sacred lesson of all, the lesson of divine endurance. When you walked through the storm of the narcissist's cruelty, you thought God was silent. But he was not silent, he was speaking through the stillness. You thought he had abandoned you, but he was standing guard, watching the dismantling of your illusions. He let the mask fall so that you could finally see truth. He allowed your heart to break so that he could enter the cracks and plant something eternal there. Wisdom, humility, power, and love that no man or woman could ever again manipulate. It hurts, yes? It burns like fire on tender skin. You wonder how a God of love could let you feel such devastation. But let me remind you, even gold must pass through fire before it shines. Even a diamond is born from pressure and darkness. Your pain is not a curse. It is the evidence of transformation. God saw that you were too precious to remain ordinary, too chosen to live untested. So he allowed you to meet the counterfeit so that you would recognize the authentic when it comes. Do not despise your scars, beloved. They are not signs of defeat, but of deliverance. They tell the story of a soul who loved too deeply, trusted too fully, and yet rose again. And rising, oh, that is the glory, to rise after being broken, to love again after betrayal, to believe again after deception. That is the divine defiance that makes heaven rejoice. God smiles on those who refuse to let cruelty kill their kindness. You may not see it yet, but the pain was a turning point. That relationship, that manipulation, that ache, it was the bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. You were walking in the wilderness of false affection, and God called you out. He said, "Come higher, my child. Come where your heart can breathe." And though the journey hurt, it was holy, for he was pulling you out of the grip of someone who did not see your worth so that you could finally see it yourself. Let the narcissist go, let the bitterness go, for they were not sent to destroy you, they were sent to reveal you. God used them as a mirror to show you what needed healing, what needed boundaries, what needed growth. You are wiser now, not because you read it in a book, but because you lived it in your bones. You learned that love without respect is not love. You learned that peace is more precious than attention. You learned that you can survive what once seemed unbearable. That is not weakness, my dear, that is resurrection. When you think back on your pain, do not think of it as wasted time. Think of it as sacred time, the time when heaven was working behind the curtain, the time when your angels stood guard while you wept, the time when the divine whispered strength into your weary soul. God was building you even when you felt broken. He was expanding your capacity for empathy, compassion, and discernment. Now you can spot manipulation where once you only saw charm. Now you can recognize truth because you have been kissed by lies. There is nothing wasted in God's design. He uses the shattered pieces to make a mosaic of glory. Every disappointment becomes direction. Every heartbreak becomes holy ground. When you kneel on that ground and lift your head to the heavens, you will realize that you were never truly abandoned. You were being sculpted, shaped by unseen hands into something magnificent. And so when you see someone else walking through the same fire, you will know how to comfort them. You will speak softly to their pain because you have met your own. You will become a vessel of healing, a carrier of light. That is the miracle of it. God turns the wounded into healers. He makes ministers out of the brokenhearted. You, dear one, will become the very blessing you once prayed for. Yes, the pain was deep. Yes, the nights were long. But when you rise each morning now, breathe in and remember. The air feels cleaner, the light feels brighter, the silence feels peaceful. You have returned to yourself. You have returned to God. And in that return, nothing was wasted. Every sorrow became soil. And in that soil, something divine has begun to bloom. The flower of strength, the fragrance of wisdom, the color of courage. So hold your head high. Child of God, walk with the quiet confidence of one who knows the truth. Nothing is wasted in the hands of the Almighty. Not your pain, not your past, not even your tears. They have all been written into the poetry of your purpose. And one day, when you look back, you will not curse the pain, you will thank it. For it was the dark room where your faith was developed. It was the night that birthed your dawn. It was the breaking that became your becoming. God never wastes pain. He multiplies it into purpose. And that purpose, beloved, is the light you now carry, a light that no narcissist, no betrayal, no storm will ever again be able to extinguish. My beloved, there comes a moment in every soul's journey when God begins to separate you from the things that can no longer travel with you. You may not understand it when it happens. You may cry, resist, or try to cling to what's slipping through your fingers. But let me tell you, with all the certainty of heaven, that when God removes someone from your life, He is not being cruel. He is being kind in a way that only eternity will explain. Separation, child, is not rejection, it is protection. It is not the end of your story, it is the turning of a page. When the narcissist walked away, or when you finally found the courage to close that door, you thought you were losing love. But in truth, you were gaining freedom. God was rescuing you from a place that could no longer feed your spirit. You had been surviving on crumbs, mistaking manipulation for affection, mistaking attention for care. God said, "No more." He stepped in, not to punish you, but to preserve you. You see, sometimes the most merciful thing God can do is to let something fall apart. We pray for peace, but we don't always recognize what steals it. We beg God to bless us, but we hold tight to the very people He's trying to remove. The narcissist was never meant to be your forever. They were a lesson, not a lifetime. They came to awaken you, to expose your strength, and to show you what love is not. And once that lesson was complete, heaven intervened. Oh, how it hurts when God says, "Enough." The silence after chaos can feel empty. The loneliness after drama can feel unbearable. But in that stillness, something sacred begins to happen. You start to hear yourself again. You begin to recognize your own voice, a voice that had been drowned out by confusion and control. The peace you thought you wanted from another person begins to rise from within you. You start remembering who you were before they convinced you that you were too much, too sensitive, too needy, too everything. God knew that if He didn't separate you, you would settle. You would stay in a house where your spirit couldn't breathe. You would keep trying to earn love that should have been freely given. So He shook the ground beneath your feet, not to destroy you, but to move you. He had to tear down what was built on lies so that He could construct something that stands on truth. It may have felt like loss, but it was actually a divine rescue mission. I have learned, through my own bruises and blessings, that rejection is often God's way of redirecting your destiny. You didn't lose a person, you lost a distraction. You didn't lose love, you lost illusion. You didn't lose your worth, you found it. There is something holy about walking away from what no longer honors you. It is the moment your soul stands up and says, "I choose peace over chaos. I choose truth over deception. I choose me, the me God created before the world tried to diminish her." Do not go chasing after those who have been divinely dismissed from your life. When God closes a door, it is because He has already seen what's on the other side, and He knows it cannot sustain your destiny. What you thought was rejection was really His redirection toward restoration. He was saving you from the cycle of false hope, from the hunger for validation that only left you empty. So if they left, bless them. Bless them and release them. Do not speak curses over what God has concluded. Do not keep trying to water what heaven has uprooted. There is peace waiting for you on the other side of letting go. There is laughter waiting in the quiet corners of your new beginning. There are friendships, loves, and opportunities that will meet you with open arms because you finally made space for them. I know you gave everything. I know you tried. You showed up with love in your hands only to be met with coldness. You built them up when they tore you down. And yet after all that they still left you feeling small. But hear me, God saw every effort. He saw your loyalty, He saw your heart. And now He is rewarding you with something greater, peace of mind, clarity of spirit, and the ability to love yourself the way you once tried to love them. In time, you will see that this separation was divine surgery. It hurt, yes. But it was necessary. God had to remove the infection of deception before it poisoned your future. He had to isolate you so He could heal you. He had to quiet the noise so you could hear His whisper. And when you finally understood that His no was just as sacred as His yes, you began to see the beauty in the breaking. Look at you now, standing, breathing, living. You thought you would never recover. You thought the emptiness would swallow you whole. But the emptiness, my dear, was simply space being cleared for peace to move in. God separated you so that He could elevate you. He stripped away what was unstable so that your foundation could be firm. He silenced the liar so that you could hear the truth. And when you look back, you will not feel anger. You will feel gratitude. Gratitude that you were strong enough to walk away. Gratitude that God loved you enough to remove what could not love you back. Gratitude that He turned the pain of separation into the power of self-realization. So do not mourn the closed door. Stand before it with your shoulders squared and your spirit calm. Whisper a prayer of thanks, for that was not the door to your destiny. The one God opens next will not require you to shrink. It will not demand that you forget your worth. It will not come wrapped in confusion. It will arrive clothed in peace. And when it does, you will understand why God had to take you the long way around. You will see that every ending was simply a beginning in disguise. You will see that the hands that once hurt you also push you closer to heaven's embrace. You will see that separation was not your downfall, it was your deliverance. Child, never mistake divine protection for loss. The things God removes are the very things that could have destroyed you. And though it may sting for a season, the blessing will outlast the pain. For what God removes, He always replaces with something greater, something pure, peaceful, and meant for your soul. So walk forward, my dear. Lift your head. The separation was sacred. You were never rejected. You were rescued. My beloved, when the storm passes and the dust settles, there comes a moment of quiet. A moment when you look in the mirror, eyes weary but still shining, and realize that you are still here. You are standing, breathing, surviving. You have walked through the valley of deception, through the wilderness of false love, through the cold silence of abandonment, and yet you are here. That, my dear, is strength. That is grace clothed in endurance. They thought they broke you. Oh, how they believed that cruelty was the final blow. They believed that your kindness was weakness, that your forgiveness was foolishness, that your heart could not possibly recover from their manipulation. But the narcissist never understood this truth. You were never standing on their love. You were standing on God's. You were never kept by their affection. You were held by His hand. And what God holds, no one can destroy. You see, your strength is not loud. It does not boast. It does not rage or seek revenge. It is quiet, sacred, unyielding. It is the kind of strength that is born from tears cried in secret and prayers whispered in the dark. It is the kind that grows in the soil of pain, watered by faith, nurtured by endurance. You did not just survive, beloved. You were transformed. There were nights you thought you wouldn't make it. Nights when your chest felt too heavy to hold another breath. When you questioned your worth, your sanity, your very purpose. But somewhere between the breaking and the healing, God whispered, "Rise," and you did. You rose with trembling hands, but a determined spirit. You rose carrying lessons that only the wounded can carry. Lessons of discernment, of boundaries, of the beauty of saying no. Strength is not about how much you can endure, it's about how you choose to endure it. You did not become bitter. You did not become cold. You did not let darkness have the final word. You stood in the ashes of your old self and decided to build again. That decision, to hope again, to love again, to trust in God again, is the greatest act of courage the world will ever see. People may look at you and see a survivor, but heaven looks at you and sees a warrior. You fought battles unseen, the war between despair and faith, between shame and grace, between anger and forgiveness. You have scars, yes, but they are holy. They are proof that you fought for your peace and did not surrender it to cruelty. The narcissist believed they could define you. They spoke lies into your spirit, made you question your truth, tried to mold you into someone smaller, someone easier to control. But the light within you refused to be dimmed. God kept whispering your true name into your soul: beloved, chosen, worthy. And when the time was right, you remembered. You remembered who you were before they tried to erase you. You remembered the sound of your laughter, the depth of your love, the power of your voice. You remembered that you were never their reflection, you were God's masterpiece. It takes divine strength to walk away from what once made you feel alive. It takes divine strength to face the emptiness that comes after chaos and not run back to what hurt you. It takes divine strength to heal, to sit in silence and let the tears fall without numbing them, to let the truth of what happened rest in your heart without letting it define you. You did that. You faced it all, and you did not crumble. And now look at you. There is a glow about your spirit that no pain could erase. There is a wisdom in your eyes that only experience can teach. There is a steadiness in your soul that even you can feel when you walk into a room. You have become a living testimony that God's power is real, that no amount of betrayal can destroy what He has anointed. You are stronger now, not because the pain was easy, but because you faced it with grace. You didn't let it make you cruel. You didn't let it strip you of compassion. You learned to love with boundaries, to speak with wisdom, to walk with purpose. You learned that silence can be strength, that peace is the loudest victory, and that self-respect is the purest form of love. So when they look at you now, when they see you smiling again, thriving again, glowing again, let them wonder how you did it. Let them see that their power was an illusion, that their cruelty was no match for your calling. Because, my dear, you are walking proof that God restores what others tried to ruin. Strength is not about pretending you were never hurt. It's about acknowledging that you were and choosing to heal anyway. It's about carrying your pain with purpose, about turning your wounds into wisdom. It's about knowing that you can bend without breaking, fall without failing, and cry without losing your dignity. There is a sacred beauty in your survival, the kind of beauty that cannot be painted or spoken, only felt, the kind that radiates from a heart that has been shattered and mended by the hands of God Himself. You are stronger than the hurt because you did not let it define you. You let it refine you. You let it polish your spirit until it shone like gold purified by fire. The narcissist wanted to make you doubt yourself, but what they did instead was help you discover yourself. You learned that your value is not dependent on anyone's validation. You learned that love does not demand you to disappear. You learned that God's opinion of you is the only truth that matters. So now, when you stand in your power, not loud, not boastful, but peaceful, you become unstoppable. You are not the same person who walked into that storm. You are wiser, calmer, deeper. You have the kind of strength that shakes the ground quietly, the kind of resilience that confuses those who tried to break you. Remember this always, child. Your strength is not a shield, it is a song. It is the melody of survival, the rhythm of grace, the music of a soul that knows the sound of God's voice in the middle of chaos. And as you walk forward, do so knowing this. No wound, no betrayal, no human cruelty can erase the divine truth written in your bones. You are stronger than the hurt because you are held by a love that never lets go. My dear heart, there's a moment in every soul's healing when you finally see yourself clearly, not through the cracked mirror of another's judgment, not through the fog of pain or the dust of confusion, but through the calm, steady eyes of God. That moment is holy. It is when you realize that healing is not about forgetting what happened. It is about remembering who you are. It is about reclaiming the divine identity that life's cruelty tried to bury. You see, when a narcissist wounds you, they do not just take from you, they try to redefine you. They twist your kindness into weakness, your patience into foolishness, your empathy into naivety. They make you doubt the very light that God placed within you. But God, in His mercy, never allows His creation to stay lost in someone else's story. Healing is His way of rewriting your name in your own handwriting. It is His gentle reminder that you were never meant to be a reflection of their brokenness. You were always meant to be the reflection of His glory. There is a sacred quiet that comes after the storm. In that stillness, your soul begins to speak truths that you had forgotten. You remember that you were chosen, not for their approval, but for God's purpose. You remember that your love is powerful, not pitiful. You remember that your heart, though bruised, still beats in rhythm with heaven. You remember that nothing, no betrayal, no insult, no manipulation, can erase the divine fingerprints that mark your spirit. Healing, my dear, is not a straight path. It winds through valleys of tears and climbs over mountains of memory. Some days you will feel strong and certain. Other days you will feel fragile and unsure. But through it all, God walks beside you, steady and patient. He does not rush your healing. He allows it to unfold like dawn, slow, gentle, inevitable. For He knows that transformation takes time. You begin to see that healing is not about returning to who you were before you were hurt. That person, though beautiful, is gone. You have seen too much, felt too deeply, grown too wide in spirit to ever be the same. Healing is about becoming who you were always meant to be, wiser, softer, freer. You learn to love yourself without apology, to trust your intuition as sacred, to honor your boundaries as holy ground. You learn that peace is not selfish, it is necessary. When God heals you, He restores your vision. You start to see through people instead of just looking at them. You can discern the truth behind their words, the intention behind their kindness. You no longer mistake charm for character or attention for affection. You begin to see that your energy is precious, that not everyone deserves access to your light. This is not arrogance, it is awareness. It is the fruit of divine healing, the clarity that comes from walking through darkness and surviving. There will come a day when you no longer ache when you hear their name. A day when the memories that once haunted you become lessons that guide you. That day, my love, is the evidence of grace. It is the proof that God has completed His work in you. You will not need revenge or closure, for peace will be your closure. You will no longer define yourself by what they did to you, but by what God did through you. You will look back and see how the pain made you pray, how the tears made you tender, how the loneliness made you listen, not to the noise of the world, but to the voice of the Spirit within. You will realize that the narcissist's cruelty was the catalyst for your awakening. They thought they were shattering you, but they were merely shaking loose everything that was not truly you. The love you gave them, you now give to yourself. The forgiveness you extended to them, you now offer to your own heart. The patience you poured into their chaos, you now pour into your peace. Healing reveals your divine identity, and that identity is unshakable. You are not what you lost. You are not what they called you. You are not the mistakes you made in trying to love the wrong person. You are light, chosen, and eternal. You are the living proof that God can take ashes and make art. You are the testimony that beauty is not the absence of pain, but the triumph that rises from it. As you heal, your reflection changes. When you look in the mirror, you no longer see someone broken. You see someone becoming. You see strength in your softness, wisdom in your eyes, and joy that no longer depends on anyone's approval. You see the image of a person who has walked through hell and found heaven within themselves. The narcissists try to make you forget your worth, but in healing you remember that your worth was never up for negotiation. It was fixed, sealed, and declared by God long before you met them. You were enough then, you are enough now, and you will be enough forever. Healing is the unveiling of that eternal truth. So do not rush this sacred work. Let it unfold. Let it wash over you like rain that cleanses old wounds. Let it teach you how to rest again, how to trust again, how to smile without pretending. Healing does not erase the past. It redeems it. It takes what was meant to harm you and uses it to strengthen you. It turns every scar into scripture, every tear into testimony. When the world sees you after healing, they may say, "You've changed." Smile when they say that, for they are right. You have changed from wounded to whole, from fearful to fearless, from seeking love to becoming it. You have become a vessel of grace, a walking reflection of redemption. And when you speak, your words will carry weight, not the heaviness of pain, but the gravity of wisdom. You will speak with the calm of someone who has seen storms and still believes in sunlight. You will move through the world not trying to prove your worth, but simply expressing it. My dear, this is the gift of divine healing, the unveiling of who you truly are beneath the pain. It is the remembrance that you were always a masterpiece even when life tried to convince you otherwise. And now as you rise radiant and renewed, remember this truth. You are not what you went through. You are what you became through it. You are not defined by the hurt. You are defined by the healing. And that healing, that quiet transformation is the song of your soul, the same song God has been humming over you since the very beginning of time. You said, expand key point 5 in 900 words in Dr. Maya Angelou style without heading. ChatGPT said, my dear one, there comes a season when you finally see what God was doing in the shadows all along. You look back on the nights that nearly broke you and realize they were not the end, they were the beginning. You begin to understand that the pain, the confusion, the betrayal, the loneliness were not punishments but preparation, for God's plan has never been destruction. His plan has always been transformation. He takes what tried to kill you and turns it into the soil of your rebirth. He takes what was meant for harm and uses it as the foundation for your healing. When you were in the storm, it was hard to see that. It was hard to believe that anything good could come from what you endured. The narcissist's words cut deep. Their manipulation left scars unseen. Their love, if we dare call it that, was a maze that led only to emptiness. You cried out to God, asking why He would let you walk through such a desert. But now, standing on the other side, you begin to see the desert was necessary. It stripped away everything that was false. It made you dependent on the one who never lies, never leaves, never manipulates. It brought you face to face with the truth that no human being can give you what only God can. Transformation, my dear, is not gentle. It is not quiet or easy. It is the tearing away of the old self, so that the new self can breathe. It is the fire that purifies, the rain that cleanses, the silence that teaches. When you ask God to strengthen you, He didn't give you comfort, He gave you challenge. When you prayed for wisdom, He gave you wounds that would one day become wisdom. When you longed for peace, He removed the very person who disturbed it, though you did not yet have the strength to let them go. That is divine love in its truest form, the love that saves you even when you resist salvation. You may have thought a relationship was your destiny. You may have believed that love could fix them, that your patience could change them, that your loyalty could heal them. But God saw what you could not. He saw the years that would be wasted if you stayed. He saw the dimming of your light, the breaking of your joy, the shrinking of your spirit. And so He intervened. He said no more. He closed the door with a finality you could not understand. He allowed the pain because He knew it would wake you up. He allowed the loss because He knew it would lead you home, back to Him, back to yourself. There is a holy irony in God's ways. The very thing that caused you to question His presence was the proof of it. The heartbreak that made you fall to your knees was the moment heaven began to rebuild you. The suffering that made you feel abandoned was actually divine construction, the making of a stronger, wiser, freer version of you. You were not being punished, you were being promoted, and promotions often come disguised as pain. Look at yourself now. You are not who you once were. You have outgrown the smallness that once kept you bound. You speak differently, walk differently, pray differently. You no longer beg for love. You embody it. You no longer chase validation. You know your worth. You no longer seek revenge. You rest in peace. That, my dear, is transformation. That is the hand of God, taking ashes and shaping them into beauty. Transformation is not about forgetting the past. It is about redeeming it. It is about saying, yes, I was hurt, but I am healed. Yes, I was lost, but I am found. Yes, I was broken, but look at how God put me back together. Stronger, wiser, softer. It is about using your story as light for others still trapped in the dark. It is about becoming the voice you once needed to hear. Every scar, every tear, every sleepless night becomes part of your ministry, part of your message. You become living proof that pain does not have the final word, resurrection does. God's plan is never random. He saw the heartbreak before it came. He knew what it would take to bring you into your purpose. Sometimes we meet people not because they are meant to stay, but because they are meant to awaken us. The narcissist awakened you. They forced you to see the places where you had forgotten your power, the boundaries you had never set, the self-love you had neglected. They forced you to return to your Creator to rediscover who you are. And for that, strangely enough, we can give thanks. Not for their cruelty, but for the way God used even their cruelty to cultivate your clarity. Child, transformation is the reward of surrender. When you stopped trying to fix what was breaking you, when you finally handed your pain to God, that was the moment everything began to shift. You didn't have to understand His plan. You just had to trust it. And now, step by step, that trust is being honored. The heaviness is lifting. The joy is returning. The purpose is unfolding. You are beginning to live, truly live, as the person God always intended you to be. The world may still see the surface, a smile where there was once sorrow, a peace where there was once turmoil, but you know the cost of that peace. You earned it through every tear, through every prayer, through every sleepless night when you chose faith over despair. You stood in the ruins and decided to build again. That, my dear, is holy courage. That is the mark of transformation. You are not simply recovered, you are renewed. You are not merely surviving, you are thriving. You are not defined by what hurt you. You are defined by what healed you. God's plan was never to leave you in pieces. His plan was to make you whole. He did not allow the pain to punish you. He allowed it to prepare you. He did not let you walk through darkness to destroy you. He led you there to teach you how to carry light. So lift your head high. Speak softly, but walk boldly. You have been through the fire and come out gold. You have faced the storm and learned to dance in the rain. You have met betrayal, but you have also met grace. The same God who allowed the breaking has written your restoration into His divine script. Every day you rise, you fulfill that plan. Every breath you take in peace is proof that transformation has taken root. And one day, when someone else sits where you once sat, trembling, heartbroken, unsure, you will look them in the eye and say, "Hold on, this is not the end. God is working." You will rise again, and your voice will carry power, because it will be born of truth. God's plan for you was never destruction. It was transformation. And my dear, you are living it, every step, every sigh, every sunrise. What once hurt you has become the very thing that healed you. What once broke you has become the bridge to your divine purpose, and in that truth you are free.